Thank you for coming today. And I'm stepping in for Harry Berry, who's the CEO and NED at CyanConnode. Unfortunately, he's trained and show up this morning, so I've agreed to do the presentation. So I'll start, there's a disclaimer here. It's a very small print, so you won't be able to see that. But so what do we do, CyanConnode? So we're providing a last-mile narrowband technology. So it's a communication network, and what it does is it provides a communication system for electricity, gas, and water meters, and also for street lighting. And there are other ways of solving the problem that we're solving, and I'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. But you could use Wi-Fi, broadband, or the mobile networks. And narrowband is low cost, low power, and that's the optimal solution that we're providing today. And if you look at the point at the bottom of the slide, what we're doing is CyanConnode. We're providing an A road which connects into the mobile operators and motorway network. So the other way of doing smart metering is to have a mobile network SIM card in every meter in everybody's home, and that's quite an expensive and inefficient way of doing smart metering. So what you can do instead is use the CyanConnode communication network to gather all that data together, what we call the A-road network, and then pass it onto the mobile network's motorway network, and then they will use that to backhaul to their billing systems. So we're a more efficient way of telecommunication companies like Telefonica or Vodafone to do smart metering. So a little bit about what we do. So there's a picture here, so I'll just take you through that. So this is a smart meter in somebody's home. So this smart meter has got our radio net module inside, and if you come and see us on the stand afterwards, it's a tiny little device. It then uses a radio network to communicate not only to an in-home display, but it also communicate to a gas meter, and it will communicate to a little box called a data concentrator unit, and then that box will then communicate back over the mobile phone network, or if there's an Ethernet connection or a fiber connection, it will communicate back further. So we're providing a hardware and also a software solution. The other part of the business model is there's a piece of software here, CyanConnode software, and that sits in the utilities billing systems and allows them to basically collect all the meter reading data together and bill the customers for what they've used. So it's a combined hardware and software business model. So a little bit more about what CyanConnode do. We've over the last 10 years, we spent £30 million on R&D. Combined, Cyan is a business that's been listed on AIM, and then we bought a company called Connode in July last year. We brought the two together, and combined, they've spent £30 million on R&D. We've got 60 staff based in the UK. The UK is Cambridge, which is where our headquarters is. And we've got engineers in Stockholm, in Sweden, and then we've got sales and customer delivery people in India. So that's where the team is. In the UK, we've got a contract worth an expected £25 million of revenue, and there we're providing software only. So that's a cornerstone customer contract that we've won in the UK. And then we've won, as you can see here, we've won £16 million of contracts in India, Bangladesh, Iran, and other developing countries. Our install base is growing, so what you can see is we've got 800,000 devices installed today, and in the countries listed, so Scandinavia, India, China, Brazil, and sub-Saharan Africa. And talk a little bit more about the UK smart metering project and what that involves. So if I start on the right-hand side of the diagram, in the UK, the south and the central regions, the rollout for smart metering has been won by Telefonica. You've all heard of Telefonica. So the Telefonica is here, and the contract for providing the hardware for this contract has been provided by Toshiba. And in the UK, we're providing software only. So we're providing our software to Toshiba to go into their communications hub, and then Telefonica have got the prime contract with the UK government. Move over to the other side of the chart. So this is the house, and this is the communications hub that's made by Toshiba. It's got our software inside, and it's communicating with an in-home display, a smart electricity meter, a gas meter, or other smart appliances over time. So you can see how that's going to work. What's interesting about this is we're providing software only. So our expected revenues, we've got contracted revenues or license fees over the period to 2020 of £6 million. And as the communication devices, the smart meters are activated, that kicks off a 15-year support contract, and then we get paid a fixed amount every year over 15 years. So you can see we've got an expected software and support license stream of £25 million coming out of this contract, which is very good. Move back to the other side. So what's the problem we're solving? So in India, you can see this is what we call the leaky pipe. So you can see on the left-hand side, the power generated in India today is $133 billion, and the amount that they're collecting from customers over on the right-hand side is $101 billion. So they're losing $32 billion, and half of that is through theft. So stealing electricity is a major enterprise in India. Anyone who's ever been there will have seen that, and what we can do is provide an enabling technology to allow the utilities to recover that $16 billion that's stolen. 300 million people in India don't have any power at all, and what we can do is, using our network, efficiently connect them, get an electricity meter into their house so they can have a basic supply to run lights or power or heating or cooking or whatever they need to do. And the Indian government has got a target to deploy 35 million smart meters by 2019. So India is a very important market for us, and I'll talk a little bit about some of the contracts we've won there in a minute. So this slide is showing the contracts we've won. If you look on the left-hand side of the chart, the dark blue bars, so Tata Power Mumbai, PVNL, CSC. So this is showing the contracts we've won. The bit inside the box is the number of units, and the number above is the size of the contracts. That's the revenue stream we've got coming in from that contract. And what you can see is these contracts are highly scalable. So for example, if we look at the PVNL one, we've got a contract for 13,000 units, which was worth £500,000. If you now look over to this part of the bar, PVNL has got 3.5 million customers. So there's a very large rollout opportunity there. The solution is very, what we call sticky. So nobody's going to deploy two smart metering solutions. So we would expect over a period of time, a number of years, to roll out from 13,000 units to 3.5 million units. And you can see from a revenue point of view what the impact that would have. The 35 million meters is going to be deployed in India by 2019, and the overall size of the market is 250 million units. So India is a very large market, and we would expect to win a number of additional contracts there. We've also won some contracts in Iran. So Iran is an interesting market. The sanctions came off in February last year, or at the end of January last year. And in February, we won our first contract for 2,000 smart street cameras. So that's the contract on the bottom left. And then in April last year, we won a contract for 360,000 smart meters, and that was worth £10 million. So it was one of the first companies in the UK to win a contract in Iran. And you can see the scaler here. So we're actively discussing a 1 million unit order in Iran. And you can see from 360,000 was worth 10 million. So you can imagine the size of a 1 million unit order. And the size of the overall opportunity in Iran is 33 million. And we're trying to win a significant piece of that. The way we sell is through a global partner network. So we've got an established ecosystem of local partners. Some of the names on there you'll recognize: Telefonica, Toshiba, Intel. Some of the ones you probably won't be familiar with. Larsen & Toubro is actually a $25 billion Indian conglomerate. They make the smart meters, and we provide the communication solution that goes inside that. JST is a Thai company, and they've acting as our distribution partner into Thailand, and actually have become one of our main investors as well. They like the technology, and they bought some shares in the company to go with that. Landis+Gyr is also a meter company, so we're providing a communication solution for them. And in some markets, Landis+Gyr is a customer, and in other markets, Landis+Gyr can be a competitor. So the key thing here is that we're using a distribution network so that these companies are going to be the prime interface into the utilities, and we're providing them with an enabling communication technology which they can then use to win contracts in those markets. A little bit about the contracts we've won in the last 4 months. So we've got quite a lot of news flow, and we've won these contracts. The main one is the one at the top. So in Bangladesh, we got a $5.4 million order, and that was for 150,000 smart meters, half hardware, half software. A software-only order from HM Power in Sweden for 100,000 licenses, and we won a third order from Tata Power in Mumbai. So we've got clear momentum in the marketplace. then my last slide, I'd just like to talk about the shareholder structure and the commitment that we've made as a board. So if you look on the left-hand side, you can see the key shareholders. So Herald Investment Biggles Nightingale is a strategic investor, and they've got 13.8%. And then Herald and Legal & General are institutional investors in the UK, so pension fund and technology investment money. And then you can see the board have got significant percents as well. If you then look on the right-hand side, you can see that ourselves as the board, John Cronin is the executive chairman. He's invested £800,000. Myself as the CFO, I've invested £500,000. And as a board, you can see we've got 1.8 million of investment. So we're highly committed to this business and to make it a success. It's also award-winning technology, so we won some awards from Frost & Sullivan, and as you'll see, if you come along and see us at the stand 91, we're just next to the main stage, and if you want to come along, and I can answer any more detailed questions that anyone has. Okay, thank you very much.